Welcome to the Euronaval studio where we welcome Pierre-Jean Bellier from OLEDCOMM. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. Can you explain to us what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, OLEDCOMM is a spin-off from a French university research lab 12 years ago. And there are 12 years of R&D, 20 million euros invested in a technology of optical communication called Li-Fi, like light fidelity. What we do is that we replace cables in environments where you'd like to get rid of cables. They slow down installation, the installation, they add weight, but radio wave frequencies are not an option. So we propose a wireless communication solution based on light. We use invisible light, near infrared spectrum, to transfer data at high speeds, going from 150 megabit per second to a few gigabit per second, and on relatively short distances, a few meters up to a few hundred meters, maximum 1 kilometer.
And what are the benefits of the use of optical communications?
Well, first of all, and the war in Ukraine has put a lot of emphasis on it, there is no RF signature, no radio signature.
It means that for electronic warfare, nobody can detect you?
Non-detectable, cannot be intercepted, cannot be jammed. So that's the first point. Second, of course, it's wireless. And I will take an example to explain how all these benefits are combined. And third of all, it's high speed, very high speed, a few gigabit per second, as I mentioned. And it's very secure because it's optics. It doesn't go through walls, it doesn't get out of a tent, it doesn't get out of a ship, of an aircraft. No? You need to be within the optical cone to be able to communicate. So a good example is a command post in the field. When you're thinking about a high intensity war, there is a need to move command posts on a very regular basis. Very regular basis, meaning every 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. If it takes you 2 to 3 hours to install the cables, which is the reality, to install the cables for dozens of computers in a brigade command post, for example, it's not possible to move every 4 hours. So what do we bring here? Very quick setup and dismantling, zero RF signature, and a wireless experience where you can move around easily.
So those are the main innovations that you have here on your booth?
Yes, exactly. And we had the chance to have been awarded a rapid program from the French Defense Innovation Agency in order to accelerate the militarization of the product, the ruggedization. So that's why we're here. I've mentioned a use case that we're working on with the French Army, but there are other use cases, of course, with special forces and with the Navy. Wireless communication within a ship, being able to move around connected with tablets, for example, everywhere in the ship, or using a different frequency length, a special area can be in wireless communication, handling secret data. Okay. And people who have a USB key to communicate with other parts of the ships will not be allowed to communicate in this part. Okay. So there are many use cases also between ships, because we have a point-to-point solution, or with a helicopter landing on a ship or an aircraft. Significant amount of data to be downloaded. Today you bring a cable, tomorrow you can do it wirelessly, which avoids the helicopter taking off again and ripping off the cable because someone forgot to take it off.
Can you give some examples of your partners or maybe the use case that you had, not only in the Navy, but I thought that you've been working on the subjects for a few years now?
Yes, so initially we're a dual company, so we work both in the commercial world and the defense world. And initially we've been deploying our solutions, so it's operational, it works, it's very stable. So the technology has a good level of maturity. We've been installing it in offices where there is a desire not to have any radio frequencies for health reasons, or where people handle sensitive information and Wi-Fi is not an option. we would like to put our solution in Ballard, in the Ministère des Armées here in France,
yeah.
or defense contractors that have confidential, secret sites, etc., etc. So we've been doing that, as well as schools. There is a law in France that prohibits the use of radio frequencies, Wi-Fi, in places where there are kids below 3 years old.
Okay.
And when they are 3, 4, 5, elementary school, many cities are reluctant to put Wi-Fi, so we'll enable a wireless experience inside those schools. So that's what we've been doing. And we then evolved towards more demanding, challenging use cases. And we wanted to push the technology to the limit. So we said, we need to go in space. So we have 3 space flights coming into the next 6 months.
Okay.
We've developed the technology for specific use cases where we replace cables inside satellites and inside a launcher. We will be on 2 satellites, a OneWeb satellite, a small nanosat satellite from Paris-Saclay University, and we will be on the first qualification flight of Ariane 6, the European launcher, that takes place in April. When you go to space, you have to go through a level of testing in terms of shock, vibration, radiation, electromagnetic interferences that is beyond anything you need to achieve on Earth. So we've passed all these tests. Now we want what is called flight heritage, to say we've flown and it worked. But if you work up there, of course it's going to work here on Earth. So we've done this, and naturally we came into the defense sector, where the first use case has really been communication into the tents, into the command posts in the field, and then other applications with special forces that I cannot talk about and so on. But the technology is very promising. It's been there for 4 years. It's been mature for a few years, but the war in Ukraine has really accelerated the need for it. Reducing the RF signature, accelerating the setup time and dismantling time is a key need for many armies around the world today.
So there's a lot of very exciting challenges that you achieved already, lots of good projects. And how do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And why are you here today at Euronaval?
So we have a very clear vision to build a leader in our space, in optical communication, short distances, Li-Fi technology. 100 million euro company in revenue is our objective in 2030. With R&D in France, manufacturing in France. We are already working on building our own factory near Paris. We hope to have it operational early 2025. Obviously the sovereignty aspect is very important, to the point that we got selected last year by the European Commission as part of the EIC, the Europe Innovation Council. They have selected 65 startups among, I think, about 4,000 candidates. 12 were French, we were one of them. Europe has identified our technology as strategic and sovereign. So they've invested 2.5 million in grants, and they will invest through a fundraising exercise we'll do next year, 3.3 million in equity. So the European Union will become a shareholder in OLEDCOMM.
That's a huge achievement. We'll follow you with great interest.
Yeah, it's testament to the use of the technology and the strategic aspect of it in the evolution of military needs in Europe and in NATO in general.
Pierre Jean Bellier, thank you very much for this interview.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot again for having me.